intimidated and busted at age 13 by the police. I remember my friend Tate Bryan shot in the back in Tampa, Florida for his first offense burglary. I remember the police firing into crowds and killing children because they were the wrong color. I remember the narcs in my high school trying to set me up for a big fall. I remember the police bringing dogs into our school and sniffing away my rights. The police is the Klan, is the mafia, and they're all on the police state, and they're out for me, and soon they're gonna be out to get you. So you better keep going if you know it's good for you, and take your stand. I remember when I first went to school and said, don't be a joker, don't be a fool, pledge your allegiance to the red, white, and blue. Do as you country do nothing for you, to say a football legend, only had one, watch him die in the heat of the sun, take out the bullet, policeman's gun, nothing I can do to get away. In the USA, you gotta take a chance, plan on staying free. The city's the land of the living, they're trying to make a dead man out of me. I remember when I first hit the road, running from the lens for the money I owed, came to offer her, knocked my door, crossed my board, now I'm running some more. City to get me ain't happened yet, burning my fingers, last cigarette, time to remember, it's time to forget, nothing I can do but get away. To the USA, gotta take a chance, plan on staying free. You call this the land of the living, they're trying to make a dead man out of me. I remember, I was starting to heard how a man's supposed to be about as free as a bird. Froze in prison, finally dead, meantime living with a price in the head. What if there's a place to be? All right, country, a fellow like me, names of paper, face on sea, nothing I can do but get away. In the USA, you gotta take a chance, plan on staying free. They call us the land of the living, they're trying to make a dead man out of me.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to episode 6 of the Bonnot Gang series. Tonight we'll be reading chapter 6 of the Bonnot Gang, The Gang by Richard Perry, The Gang Forms. Yeah, it should be good. Let me introduce the panel tonight. I'm joined by Melantip, Lane, Seamus, Many Dog, and Alcaz. So we got a full panel tonight. How's it going, guys?
Doing good.
Hello.
Pretty good.
It's going good.
That's good. That's good. I guess I'll start with the reading then, and yeah. Here we go. So, chapter 6, The Gang Forms. Do you want a name for this world, a solution of all its riddles, a light for you too, you who are the best concealed, the strongest, the most midnightly of men? This world is the will to power and nothing else besides, and you too are that will to power and nothing else besides. Friedrich Nietzsche, 1844 to 1900. A meeting of egoists. The first thing Bonnot did on the afternoon of his arrival in Paris was look up his old mate, David Bonnot, who was working as a laboratory assistant in a pharmacy in Saint Lazare, and who had returned 2 weeks earlier from a trip to London. He was lodging in an apartment at 45 Rue Nollet, Batignolles, in the 27th arrondissement. The landlady, widow Rollet, knew him simply as Monsieur David. Bonnot gave his own name as Monsieur Comtesse. He told Belloni after the death of Platano, and Belloni suggested he'd better explain the affair fully in front of the other comrades, especially those like Garnier, who had known him. The last thing Bonnot needed was the hostility of other comrades. The meeting was therefore arranged in a little top-floor garret in Montmartre, possibly Godorowski's flat at 6 Rue Courtot, just behind the Sacre-Cœur. Garnier, Courroy, and Talaman were there for sure, and possibly Belloni, Valet, Debeau, and Dudon on a 2-week holiday from Nancy, and Godorowski himself. Bonnot managed to acquit himself well, angrily denying that he'd killed Platano for his money, as the current rumor had it. Anyway, he was now short of money and proposed that they do a few jobs together if anybody were interested. Octave Garnier realized that this was the man he was looking for, a good driver and mechanic, a professional with a certain degree of sang-froid, and 10 years' experience behind him. Edward Courroy, however, being more or less of the same age, saw him as a rival and was still uncomfortable about the circumstances surrounding Platano's death. Raymond was neutral and dismissive of some of their schemes for making money. Hadn't they had enough of those miserable little thefts and burglaries, getting rid of a few fake coins, or doing some disgusting menial job under the eagle eye of the foreman? It was time to think big, like robbing a bank, for instance. In fact, two armed men had attempted a robbery only a few days before. On November 29th, the two had tried to rob a bank messenger of 30,000 francs as he left the St. Denis branch of the Banque de France. They were chased through the streets by a band of honest citizens, and despite firing at their pursuers, were arrested. Garnier held the view that if the men had killed one or two of these stupid citizens, then they might have got away. Raymond simply suggested that they didn't approach the problem scientifically. Bonnot saw the cause of their failure more prosaically. They didn't have a getaway car. Octave and Raymond were keen to work with Bonnot, but Edward Carroy was not so sure. He was content to stick with miserable but safe burglaries with his partner, Medj at the time. Edward had problems with his lover, Jean, who had temporarily left him to stay with Rirette and Victor a Rue Fessard. They had been denounced to the police for having counterfeited money on the premises and were raided on the 26th of November, but nothing was found. Jean had subsequently moved to a place in Bobigny, north of Romainville, the home of Monsieur and Madame Detweller, the latter being a laundress to whom Carroy had occasionally brought washing. The Detwellers had moved there with their 3 children in October. The Rue de l'Harmonie was still little more than a track across open land, on either side of which a few houses stood. Georges Detweller, an anarchist mechanic from Alsace, had just put the finishing touches on his scarcely built garage. In December, things got hot for Carroy. The police raided his place at Saint Thibault-les-Vignes, looking for counterfeit coins. Again, nothing was found, despite the fact that Carroy's lodger, Leon Berger, was a professional anarchist counterfeiter, wanted by the court in Montes, and both were under surveillance by Xavier Gouchard's 3rd Brigade Intelligence. Carroy, however, was only known to them as Raoul Leblanc, a.k.a. Annie. Nevertheless, he needed no further prompting, and so on the 10th of November, having made up with Jean, he cleared out. He borrowed Louis Rimbaud's old lorry, and with the help of 4 mates, moved his gear by night to Detweller's place in Bobigny. Carroy and Detweller sold a presumably stolen automobile and two socialist militants in Lagny for a knockdown price. The buyers, the Magasson brothers, had placed an advert in Guerre Sociale in October on behalf of the Chevalier couple, who were looking for a child to adopt. Edward and Jean agreed to put Jean's 4-year-old daughter in the care of Chevalier in Thorigny, on the opposite bank of the Marne from Saint Thibault-les-Vignes. So that's the end of that section. Do any of you guys have any thoughts you want to share so far? Anyone?
Actually, wasn't paying attention during half of it.
All right.
Yeah, boycott is a good idea.
Yeah, he's kind of made up with his comrades. I guess most of them are buying his story that the death of Plutano was an accident. I'm getting a lot of background noise from one of you guys.
It's Miss Mellon. Oh no, it's Shay.
No,
Shay.
fuck you.
Yes, it's all good. It's better now. So yeah, he convinced his comrades that Plutano's death was an accident. He didn't mean to do it. He didn't intentionally kill Plutano and steal his inheritance money. I myself have some suspicions about that, but let's pretend like his story's legit and it was an accident. His boys believe him. So now they're talking about like.
Well, that's what all the evidence we have states.
Yeah. Now they're talking about doing bigger jobs, less petty crime, and do bigger jobs, rob banks and shit. So the gang is like forming. That's basically all that the intro talked about, to summarize. But yeah, if no one has anything they want to discuss about the opening section.
Yeah, you should probably just continue. There's just not a lot to talk about there.
Yeah.
All right, science on the side of the proletariat. Meanwhile, Bonnot, Garnier, and Raymond LaScience were thinking about their big job. They all had the favored weapon, the 9 millimeter Browning, which, although not as accurate as the Mauser, was virtually half the size and was less than half the weight. A semi automatic with a 7 round detachable magazine. It had an effective range of 40 meters. 5 clips could be fired off per minute. It was a handgun that was easily concealable. The police at the time were unarmed. The next problem was to steal the appropriate car. They had visited the rich areas on the fringes of the city and noted down a few possibilities, but Garnier was determined that they should steal the best. To make the cry of their revolt felt more strongly than ever, a revolt endowed with a Nietzschean sense of the aesthetic and a Stirneresque sense of mocking the sacred. The automobile that Garnier found was a superb 1910 model Delaunay Belleville limousine, belonging to a rich bourgeois in the fashionable suburb of Boulogne-sur-Seine, where the theorist of revolutionary syndicalism, Georges Sorel, also happened to live, and reflect on violence, amongst other things. With its powerful 6-cylinder, 30 horsepower engine and distinctive circular radiator, the Delaunay Belleville was regarded by many as the best car in the world until 1914. It was usually chauffeur-driven and was much favored by French presidents and foreign royalty, including the Russian Tsar Nicholas II. They cost over 15,000 42 Champs-Élysées, or from similar showrooms in Nice and Biarritz. The owner of the Saint Denis factory was one of the most important industrialists in France. Monsieur Louis Delaunay Belleville was a progressive capitalist. His factories had instituted the English week, a 10-hour day with a half-day Saturday and Sunday off, and was regarded as an excellent example by the syndicalists. Of course, no single worker there stood a chance of ever owning what he produced. The name Delaunay Belleville had further connotations. Delaunay was the name of the assassin of the second in command of the Surete, the equivalent of Scotland Yard, in 1909, while Belleville was the name of the renowned working-class suburb in Paris's East Side. Joined together, the two names now signify one of the most prestigious of all capitalist commodities. The theft alone of such a car was, for the illegalists, a radically conscious gesture. On the night of December 13th, Bonnot, Garnier, and Calaman took a trip to Boulogne-sur-Seine to expropriate the automobile. They hid behind some bushes until all the lights in the house had gone out. The garage door was well locked, so they scrambled over the garden wall and crowbarred the door on that side. Then they came upon a second door, which made a horrendous noise when forced. It was a still, cold night, and they waited, tense and expectant, hoping that nobody had woken. All remained quiet, and they went into the garage. They found the radiator still warm. Monsieur and Madame Normand, who had just been chauffeured back by Albert from a night at the opera. Bonnot examined the car by flashlight and briefly explained to Garnier how it worked. Then he emptied the petrol into the tank from the can he'd brought along just in case. In the garage, they found plenty of full petrol cans, tires, tools, and clothes, which they threw onto the back seat. Raymond knocked over a bucket and they all froze, but again nothing happened. Octave and Raymond then argued as to how to open the main door. Bonnot soon had it open. He must have been conscious of working with amateurs. The three of them slowly pushed the car outside and shut the door. Garnier yanked the starting handle a couple of times, but it didn't start. Instead, a light came on at one of the windows, so they hurriedly pushed the car around the corner. Bonnot discovered a mechanism that hadn't been disengaged. He turned the starting handle and the engine burst loudly into life. They were away. As they sped through the night alongside the river Seine, Bonnot familiarized himself with the car. They passed the silent Renault factory at Billancourt, then crossed the fifth bridge they came upon to the south bank. With the windows down and the cold air blowing in their faces, they felt exhilarated. Bonnot began to sing. He skirted the southern fortifications of the city, then turned south towards Chaussee-Lavoie. In the early hours, they arrived at Jean Dubois' ramshackle old garage. The dog began to bark, but quieted down on recognizing Bonnot. Dubois offered his apologies, but said that he couldn't risk hiding it for them, as the police had recently been snooping around. The only thing they could do was take it up and where Croy was staying and put it in Detweller's garage. They changed the number plates, drove off over the waste ground, and headed north in Bobigny. Their noisy arrival there an hour later set a dog barking and woke up some of the neighbors, who were naturally curious as yet another late night arrival in 3 days. The car disappeared into Detweller's garage. So that's that part. Anything you guys want to talk about?
No.
It's interesting to hear of the early stages of a criminal gang.
Yeah, Bonnot's like the first guy to like have a getaway car and all that. Like he did incorporate like modern technology into to be a better criminal.
Mhm.
So it is kind of implicitly
Futurism,
futuristic.
illegalism,
Yeah,
cult of the
Copy
movement.
paste.
Is there like any like mention that Marinetti like wasn't a legalist or like it's compatible or something?
No, I think Mary had a pretty bourgeoisie upbringing.
yeah, he would have been in like Paris at this time that this was happening, though.
Yeah, he was very artistic and bourgeois.
Yeah.
He was not like a fucking poor motherfucker robbing banks.
Yeah,
Well, I
there
mean,
isn't
Bonnot
any-
wasn't poor either. Bonnot came from a relatively middle upper class family.
Oh,
He has a good deal of his life in poverty. But then that's why he got into robbing. That's why he became a robber. It was for money.
Interestingly, he comes from the same area that Pearl Home does. You know, Pierre Joseph Pearl.
Yeah, I mentioned that in the last chapter that we did 2 weeks ago. Yeah, his mom died when he was young, and his dad was like an alcoholic, and he kind of had a troubled upbringing. I think he dropped out of school at age 12 and worked in a factory, kept losing jobs. He couldn't like hold anything down. He was in the army for a little bit.
3 years.
Yeah, and he was like a good soldier, but then he fell on hard times. You know,
His fucking wife left him.
yeah,
That's hard.
Just listen to chapter 5, guys. We talked about it last week.
Yeah, I read it today. Like, damn.
Yeah, but yeah, so they just stole a car. And yeah, should I keep reading, or do you guys have anything you want to talk about? Any insights or anything at all? I got a full panel and no one has anything to say. But
Si, senora.
all right. So the third and final part. Looking for a target. The gang now had the automobile, the guns, and a couple of safe houses. So it was a question of finding the most lucrative target. Garnier later recalled in his scribbled memoirs, "We had 2 really big jobs to do. In the middle of October, I'd bought an acetylene torch, and we had to have an automobile to transport it. There were 2 safes to get through in this job. As I knew how to use the oxy and Bonnot was a good driver, we decided in consultation with the other comrades to attempt the operation as soon as possible. Obviously, they were hoping to repeat the sort of success that Bonnot had in Vienne a year and a half earlier. Nevertheless, in the 3rd week of December, he and Garnier had also cased a bank in the neighborhood north of Montmartre. So they had 2 possible jobs lined up. In case one miscarried, the other might succeed. Between meetings, life was on much as normal. Octave and Marie were still staying with his mother in Vincennes. Croy and Jean remained with Detweller and the Delaunay Belleville and Bobigny. Bonnot continued to lodge in Rue Nolette, telling the proprietress that he was an industrialist from Belfort, and Raymond hung around at another comrade's place, one visiting Louise. Recently, Laura Lott's relationship with Louise had begun to deteriorate, and Raymond proved her with a sympathetic ear, as a friend who still hoped that their relationship might become more of an amitié amoureuse. Eugene Dudon had promised to return to Paris for Christmas in a final attempt to persuade Louis to return to him. On the evening of December 18th, he collected a 242-franc wage packet from his employer in Longlaville and went to see his mother and Nancy. The next day he received a telegram. We anxiously await you. Come at once, Raymond. This was later to be used as evidence to implicate Dudon in the gang's first major crime. Despite Raymond's assertion that he sent the telegram at the instigation of Louise, who was now willing to get back together with her husband. On the evening of the 20th, Bonnot, Garnier, and Raymond Lascience had maybe another comrade, perhaps Rene Valet or Jean Debout, made their way over to Detweller's garage in Bobigny for the last time. Garnier paid off Detweller, and then they hit the road. It was 1 o'clock in the morning of the 21st. On the way, they stopped to pick up the oxyacetylene gear, which had been left in the safekeeping of a friend. We were 4 mates in all, wrote Garnier, but the question remains, who was the 4th man? It seems unlikely to have been Eugene Dudon, despite the apparently cryptic telegram sent by Raymond. It would have been possible for him to have got to Paris by the 20th, and maybe his restless state of mind as regards Louise could have lent itself to joining in a sort of cathartic exercise such as this. However, it seems more likely that Edward Carroy would have accompanied them from Bobigny, or that Valet or Debout came in with the others from Paris. Whoever the 4th man was, he sat in the back alongside Raymond and had not taken active part in the proceedings. For the burglary they had in mind, Bonnot had demanded that it must be pouring with rain, so that the sound would cloak the noise of the oxyacetylene torches. They waited and waited, but the clouds seemed very reluctant to release their liquid contents. Finally, at about 3:30, they set off again and returned the oxyacetylene gear to their friend. They decided to go for the job that Bonnot and Garnier had cased a few days before, a robbery that was at once simple, innovative, and incredibly daring. It was to be the daylight attack on the bank messenger of the Société Générale, the largest of the Parisian banks, and rivaled on a national scale only by the famous Credit Lyonnais. It was agreed to strike in an area that they knew well, in the Quartier de Grande Carrière, which lay in the west of the Butte de Montmartre, and extended in the outer boulevards. The ambush would take place just before the messenger deposited his money in the local branch of the Société Générale in Rue Ordinaire. The messenger had a regular routine and would even be wearing the bank's uniform, so he would be easily recognizable. There was also the hope that he might be carrying more money, as it was only a few days before Christmas. The use of the stolen limousine as a getaway vehicle was to be their trump card, and it was something that had never been done before, anywhere in the world, and it would cut down the possibilities of pursuit to a minimum. There were other plus factors. Not only was the Rue Ordinaire close to some of the main exits north of Paris, but the roads would hopefully be a lot cleaner than usual, as the 7,000 taxi drivers were still on strike after more than 3 weeks. If by any chance there were more serious attempts to stop them, then they would have to be prepared to use their Browning automatics. It was a very bold plan, one that was rather out of keeping with their normal style in quiet nocturnal burglaries. It was a plan that certainly had style. But why had they settled on a plan of such audacity? One that, according to Garnier, was full of traps. Bonnot, for one, must have felt that he had nothing to lose. He faced the guillotine for the murder of Platano, a transportation to French Guinea for his numerous other crimes, a fugitive in the metropolis with only one real friend, David Belloni, to aid him, and with his lover Judith in prison. He must have felt that decisive action was necessary. A new comrade in arms, Octave Garnier and Edward Carroy, were wanted for attempted murder in Charleroi, while the former was possibly involved in the death of a scab in Maison Lafitte, and the latter was suspected of circulating false coinage, had been under surveillance by the 3rd Brigade. Only Raymond was not wanted by the police, but his disgust with bourgeois society and with spurious opposition to it led him to agree with Octave's wish for intense living. He did not have that particular penchant for criminality that the others possessed, but he wanted to partake in grand gestures rather than paltry, insignificant transgressions. So Raymond threw in his lot with Garnier and Bonnot in order to commit a crime of which Sterner might be proud. Mighty reckless, shameless, conscienceless. I don't know why I can't pronounce that word. Only Edward Carroy decided not to join this union of egoists, although he was welcome to come along for the ride. They went over the plan a few times, but they weren't in particular agreement as to how exactly to carry out the robbery, as it would be taking place at 9 o'clock in the morning in a busy street in a quite densely populated neighborhood. For the next few hours, they drove around the deserted Paris streets, too tense to sleep. Garnier took the wheel in order to get better acquainted with the art of driving. He already felt confident enough to take quite dangerous bends at high speeds. Besides, as Garnier explained, you really need to have two drivers in case one of them is wounded, so that at least somebody is able to shake off any pursuers. Sometime after daybreak, Garnier passed the steering wheel back to Bonnot. That morning, two papers hit the street, Lotto and L'Anarchie. Each carried announcements of their respective front pages. The first read 500 francs to whoever finds the Delaunay Belleville limousine. 1014 HP, model 1910, green and black trim, license plate number 783X3, motor number 200679B, tires 82011, 20, stolen 14th December, contact M. Normand, 12 Rue de Chalet, Boulogne scene. The announcement in L'Anarchie was the first 2 weeks of December, had been financially disastrous, was followed by an appeal for friends and comrades to make collections. We just need to make an effort. We'd like to believe that this appeal will be heard and that the anarchist movement still has enough vitality in it to come up with the goods. By the end of the day, both Monsieur Normand and M. Kibalchich were to be poring over the evening editions with incredulity. Not long after 8 o'clock, the gang's luxury limousine was parked in Rue Ordinaire. We were fearfully armed, recalled Garnier. I had no less than 6 revolvers on me, of which one was butt-mounted with a range of 800 meters. My companions each had 3, and we had about 400 rounds in our pockets. We were quite determined to defend ourselves to the death. So that concludes the chapter. Any thoughts you want to share about the chapter as a whole?
Maybe
It was
not.
400
very
rounds of
short.
ammunition. Jesus Christ, that's like 20 pounds of 20 pounds of munitions.
Not enough.
They
Oh,
got them
yeah.
like loosely sitting in their pockets, or they got them in a bag, or how are they carrying these 400 rounds?
Maybe
Not
like
sure.
in pirate times, he got straps on their body to keep
Yeah,
the
but
revolvers
a pirate with his 8 fucking flintlock pistols would only have about 20 shots overall.
in. The real
This
times
guy
were
has
fucking...
6-shot revolvers with fucking 6 rounds each and 400 rounds stuffed in his pockets.
Yes,
Yeah.
to commit a massacre.
Mhm.
To kill all the police if necessary. It's a good idea.
Fight to the death, armed to the fucking teeth.
Yes.
These aren't past the teeth. These aren't right up to the fucking top of his head. He can go swimming in the amount of bullets he's got.
Well, it's a big job. Nothing like this has ever been done before. So, you know, they want to be well armed.
In France. In France.
Yeah.
France is fucking dangerous, mate.
I
Is
mean,
it?
they made the guillotine the fucking way to die till like
Yeah.
the 70s. Like,
Head goes chop chop.
That's
I
based.
don't know whoever thought that was like more humane. I first think just like, I don't know. I think poison's a bit more humane. I don't know.
It wasn't supposed to be humane. It was supposed to be terrifying.
It was supposed to
It
be
was made
scary.
as a weapon of terror. That is the whole point of the terror. You know, when Robespierre was like, I don't know, I don't like how you look. You're getting guillotined.
Best.
I thought the creator of the guillotine thought it was more humane way to kill someone.
No, he thought it was terrifying, and that's why it was used. They wanted it was an act of terrorism, one of the very first acts of terrorism.
They're trying to
should
make a
make it
statement
legal.
to other would-be criminals, right? Like,
Yeah, or
this is
it
what
was
happens when you
France, or-
break the locks. I don't know.
This,
They used
this
to
is
do
what
them
happens when
publicly.
you anger the people of France. You get the guillotine.
Yeah, you get guillotined. We're not
I mean,
fucking around.
I mean, Peter should get the guillotine, right?
I'm pro death penalty personally.
Yeah.
Depends on the crime, obviously.
Yes, of course. No one who fucking steals a chocolate bar gets a guillotine.
Yeah.
I think they should.
Well, under Robespierre, you would.
Oh, right.
Dude, Robespierre, like, okay. Speaking of Robespierre, like I read like an article saying like he had a lot of like traits that like lined up with autism. So like some people think he was like autistic.
Of
I
course
mean,
he
you
was.
can think that, but
Autistic.
he
They
was
do
a
that with a
highly
lot of
intelligent
historical
person.
figures. I honestly don't take that seriously.
Autistic pride
He
worldwide.
he was a very intelligent person. He was a very shrewd person, but he wasn't socially inept. In fact, he was a highly charismatic person, a highly social person. So I don't know how autism would exactly fit in with that, as autism usually leads to more antisocial behavior.
Not necessarily. You can be autistic and
On the premise
obsessed.
of a whole, yes, there are exceptions to that, of course, but on the premise of a whole of a population, right, as a point of
Yeah.
data, the far majority of people who suffer from autism or associated mental illnesses are antisocial or become antisocial.
That guy, that nigga Vaush, has autism, and like his autism manifests in him being obsessed with public speaking. So it can actually
I wouldn't
aid
call it
you.
public. He sits in front of a camera. He doesn't actually go anywhere. He doesn't actually meet people. Robespierre
Sure.
had to go into a room loaded with people who either hated him or wanted him dead, and he had to give speeches to them to make them
Then he's very verbose, I guess.
And Vosh liked CP.
I mean, it's sure, but that's not what we're talking about, Melon.
I mean, yeah.
I'm just saying your autism can manifest in somebody like Vaush.
You're absolutely
He's
correct.
very
But I was
verbose.
using a point of datum as a whole, not in individual cases.
He could have been like really autistic, but his autism manifested in him like speaking a whole lot, which can happen.
Yeah, I mean, it could, but what I'm saying is it's unlikely. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at the article right now. Do you want me to like name the 10 traits that they claim was like made like Robespierre perhaps autistic?
Sure.
All right, the first one on this article says Robespierre was extremely nervous and high-strung. Second was he was very
He was paranoid. He wasn't exactly nervous.
second point is he was very fastidious about his appearance. I don't know what the word fastidious means.
Like
I don't
You
see that.
care? Like he really cares about his appearance. Like you mean that?
I mean, yeah, that's what the word means. But I mean, I don't see Robespierre being like that. I don't remember any. When I read about Robespierre a whole lot, I've never read about him being.
The third point is
Very-
it says that Robespierre rarely laughed, and when he did, the sound seemed forced from him, like it was hollow and dry.
I don't know. Mass murder tends to knock the humor out of most good people.
Fourth point is he appeared to be unrelentingly conscious of his own virtues.
Well, he thought he was a god.
Yeah, like it says here that Aspies are rather severe in their sense of order and intolerant of anyone who does the thing to behave in the way they consider to be the correct way. But
Mussolini had Asperger's.
I don't see that. He had paramilitaries
Not
that
true.
absolutely hated him, but he used them in order to kill people he didn't like.
It doesn't make sense. What the fuck?
Yeah, I know, right? He had the what are they called? The red caps, which were like working class shoeless people that he would send at people that called him mean names. And a newspaper writer would be like, "Robespierre's a tyrant." And he'd be like, "Okay, red caps, go kill him."
it says the eighth point is according to his sister, Robespierre was completely uninterested in food and mainly left off of bread, fruit, and coffee. Apparently, like, people with Asperger's don't like to eat like food outside of their range of what they want to eat or what they're comfortable with eating, I guess.
Okay.
That's kind of a weak argument.
Yeah. It
I mean,
also ninth point
Rice is
is he
fucking
would
epic.
lose himself in his work, sometimes forgetting that there were other people around him or what had been going on around him.
I thought he was very, very aware of everything going on around him, like overly aware to the point where he was paranoid and thought that everybody was trying to kill him.
And the final point is he was not a carnal man, nor was he interested in ordinary pleasures. Even when he was the most powerful man of France, he kept his same spare of rented rooms in the Rue Saint Honore and didn't use his position to make his life more lively or comfortable. And he lived off virtue, but I don't know.
No, because he was the very first a French nationalist. He envisioned the idea of a nation, not beholden to what is it called, aristocratic families, or the holdings of a single royal domain, or just being there for a long period of time. He envisioned a nation of ideas, right? A concept without actual material. An idealist, a very early one, I guess.
Idealism didn't start in France.
No, it started in Greece. I'm quite aware. But the actual application of political idealism wasn't a very wide thing. And it was never pertaining as it did with Robespierre or his experiments with the nation.
I don't know a lot about Robespierre, so I'm kind of just letting you guys riff off.
He's a very interesting figure.
Yeah, I've never read into him, but sounds interesting though. Yeah, like we're already done the reading, so you know.
What do you mean by political idealism?
I mean the application of idealist theory, of idealist thought, to the running and operation of a national body, right? Politicalized idealism, application of idealism, praxis, right, wasn't very common. I mean, you have some sparse examples of theorizing practice, Plato's Republic and whatnot, but it's never actually an implemented idea, right? The corporatism that Plato and other early Greek philosophers speak of, right? It's a
proto-corporatism. It can't really be called corporatism.
I mean, it is corporatism. I mean, the organization
of
the corpus. It's literally.
You don't have like a guild. I wouldn't even call.
No. That's.
I wouldn't even call it
Gentilian.
feudalism.
No, that's Gentilian. That's Gentilian. That has nothing to do with corporatism as a word. Corporatism was just the corpse of state, right? The corpse running the state as a body, right? Guilds and all that comes when Gentile interprets the body of state as a union, right? As a trade syndicate. The initial corporatism that is still preached by the Catholic Church, the Catholic Church and whatnot, views the corporate idea as a body of state, the actual running of a nation as if it was a body. Nothing to do with guilds or syndicates or anything like that.
That's how you unify it. That's how you organize the nation. That's also what corporation refers to.
No, it isn't. Corporatism under Gentile, the Gentilian conception of corporatism, absolutely refers to the operation of state and unity by union. But the Catholic corporatism or the Platonian corporatism does not refer to it in that sense. Nor does a lot of the early corporatist ideas, like I don't know if you've read into Taylorism or Soldarism from Emil Durkheim, guys like that, or the Catholic Church's concept, what's it called? Pope Leo, whatever the fuck.
What's the name of the medieval guilds in Italy? What's the name of the medieval guilds in Italy?
But that's completely irrelevant. Plato is the one who conceptualized the corpus of state.
Yes.
Corporatism doesn't have to do with a specific organization when you're using it in this context. When we talk about Gentilian corporatism, yeah, absolutely, it does refer to the organization of state as unions and whatnot.
Catholic corporatism also promotes unions that are not necessarily state-owned.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
It sees it as.
It promotes the distributism wants the guild system back.
Distributism isn't corporatism.
It is a form of corporatism.
No, it isn't.
It also views the body as a whole.
Yes, in a way, distributism does share a lot of ethics with.
Wait, isn't distributism just basically syndicalism?
Yeah, it's a format. It's a very similar format when you apply it. But what I'm talking about is Pope Leo's take on fucking corporatism. It didn't have anything to do with trade.
Yeah, that's what distributism built its foundation off of.
Yes, it comes from the Catholic social teaching. Yes, but that doesn't have to do with trade unions. It doesn't. That comes later. That comes with Soldarism. Emil Durkheim, who starts talking about the use of collective society and unions in order to create a working system of government that is opposed to both capitalism and the traditional thought of socialism. The whole tripartist system. Corporatism, according to Plato and shit like that, was a thought of a corpus, sort of like Hobbes' explanation of state with the Leviathan, right? The Leviathan.
The Leviathan is not a state. The Leviathan is the Commonwealth.
The Leviathan is a state. The Commonwealth
It's
is a
the
state.
Commonwealth, you fucking
The
retard.
Commonwealth is a state. What are you talking about? Hobbes applies.
Those are two different things. The state is not necessarily the same as the people that inhabit it. Civil society, everything within that is the Leviathan. That's the Commonwealth. The state is a different thing.
No, the state is one of the same.
Isn't Leviathan the head of state?
The Leviathan is the head of state. The Leviathan is the example of state. Leviathan is state. It shares a lot of concepts with the Gentiles and idea of state. You know, every citizen shares a relationship with the state so intimate that the state only exists so far as it's made to exist by a citizen. The state and individual are one, or rather, perhaps state and individual are terms that are inseparable in a necessary synthesis. Right? Hobbes originates that with the conception of the Leviathan as the example of state, of the body of state, the corpse of state. Right, that's where corporation or the corporatism comes from. Is the corp.
If you want, I can have Leviathan over there. I can show you. It means Commonwealth. The Leviathan refers to the Commonwealth. The state is not necessarily one and the same with the Commonwealth.
I think my internet died there. What point did I cut out? Hello, hello, hello.
I'm not sure. I'm looking it up right now. What Hobbes meant by Leviathan. I've never read Leviathan by Hobbes, so
I have a couple of times. The Leviathan is the essence of state, is the person of state, right? He originates the social contract theory. Absolute sovereign must be brought in, or people will resort to the state of nature, right?
Basically.
Yeah, right. Basically, state of nature is things are bad, everybody kills each other, etc., etc. It's anarchy.
Anarchia.
Yeah. Leviathan is an example of state. He uses the English Civil War specifically, and England specifically, as his example of the state. The Commonwealth, a commonwealth, right, is synonymous with a republic, with a system of government. That is why it was called the Commonwealth of England under fucking, what's it called? Cromwell. All right?
Okay,
it has nothing to do with a body of people in this context. It has to do with the physical commonwealth of which he was referring to, with his historical materialistic idea of what a state must be. It has nothing to do with a body of people. Nothing to do. It has to do with a state. It has to do with a country.
Okay, now I figure with I don't remember reading the word Commonwealth in my copy.
Well, it's a part of the title, pretty sure. Yeah, Leviathan, or the matter, form, and power of a commonwealth, ecclesiastical and civical. Now, there's actually a part, it's called Part 2 of Commonwealth, right? He describes the Commonwealth as a nation, the people that live within it, one and the same. Similar to how Gentile conceives the state, the citizen being one, a necessary synthesis of ideas, okay? He describes the Leviathan as the head of Commonwealth, the head of state. He does not differentiate. He does not say the Commonwealth is this and the state is this and they're different. No, he states that they're one and the same in their action, and how they must be led to avoid anarchy.
Yeah, maybe it's because I got a German version and it didn't find the German word in it.
Yeah, I mean, with translations, it's going to be imperfect, right? I mean, there's even imperfect translations between different eras of the English language, right? Hobbes wrote in what would be the early modern English shortly after Shakespeare, so you see a lot of modern similarities. But if you went back before that, like, I don't know, per se,
before the Normans arrive.
No, not even before the Normans arrive. Just a little bit after that. If you go to, for example, The Precipice of War, set forth by Annes, the Earl of Penarlia, which was written in the 1500s. I mean, it's just mumble jumble that makes no fucking sense. Like the spelling and all that, how it's pronounced. It's crazy. Where's that background noise coming from?
What background noise are you talking about?
Yeah, I think, Lane, there we go, it's quiet down a little bit.
It's
sort of like a fan or
something. I think it's melon type.
It might be. I don't know. It sort of sounded like a fan or something.
It could be me. My like mic picks up
No fan.
my laptop fan. I need a new laptop, guys. I can't do much about it, but that
Oh
could
no,
be
it's
it.
fine. I was just
I
wondering
don't
where
know.
it came from.
Yeah, let's GoFundMe Gio a new laptop.
Yeah, buy our shirts and get you a new laptop. Get my nigga a new laptop.
Plus no underpants. He needs underpants.
That's how us gangsters roll, dude.
No underpants based.
No underpants, gang.
I am
Sans
walking
culottes.
completely
No
naked.
commando. Yeah, I'm a classy guy, right? Like, I don't do that shit. But yeah, I don't know. We can talk about pretty much anything. I like keeping the episodes an hour, so we're just kind of.
I think it was good to have an argument though, because I think we just didn't have enough to talk about. Gio, you need to get another fucking anarchist on here who can have conversations, because you're the only anarcho-fascist here. The rest of us are fucking
Don't prefix it. Don't prefix it. Don't do that. Don't.
Seamus gets offended when someone
Jesus
prefixes
Christ, man! I've
fascist.
read 2 of the different manifestos. C is like whatever nature, and the
Seamus,
and
it's
the
okay.
anarcho-fascist
It's okay,
manifesto.
bro.
Seamus, you know what I mean, though.
It's not even reminiscent
Okay,
of Squadrismo.
fascists who are
It's just
sympathetic to
gangism.
anarchism.
Yeah,
Fascists who
No,
are
no,
sympathetic
it wasn't. No, Fionzio was sympathetic to anarchism. Benito
No, I'm
Mussolini
saying
fucking
Giovanni.
hated
No.
the idea of an anarchist.
Oh.
Giovanni Gentile despised the
I know
concept of
that.
anarchism. They wanted it
Seamus, you're
dead.
misunderstanding me.
Anarcho-fascism to me is just a synthesis of fascist and anarchist ideas. Like, I don't know, my worldview is very like syncretic. Like, I take bits and pieces from various different things. I'm not like an orthodox fascist or an orthodox anarchist or an orthodox anything. I'm a very like flexible, open-minded guy, I
You
guess.
should convert to Orthodox Christianity, too.
Yes.
I am reading the Bible. Like, I got.
Not the Orthodox Bible, though.
No, I
There's no
do.
difference.
I got the Orthodox Study Bible here, so I'm reading the Orthodox Bible.
Want to go to church with me?
Melantype, you should.
I'm not actually practicing. Like,
Melantype, you should
kind
be on
of
here
agnostic,
with my
but-
friend who was on the Dugan episode, who's like a hardcore Orthodox Christian.
Based. I should have been there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have him back on again. We just haven't been doing a lot of like fascist or right wing kind of content. So, you know, he's not He's not like an anarchist. He's not really interested in that. He's not like an art guy, so he's not going to be on the Surrealist Manifesto.
Yeah, he's like a pretty mainstream
I mean,
fascist.
I'm not really an art guy, nor am I an anarchist.
Yeah. Yeah, like, and he's welcome to come on whenever he wants, but like when I have an episode that I think somebody's going to be good for, like, I'll reach out to them, but it's mostly just whoever shows up. Like, I don't beg people to come on or anything. It is what it is. I usually don't know who's going to be on any given night until like the show already starts. So, you know.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Russian roulette podcast. With guests.
I've got a pretty like deep pool though. Like, I think we have enough regulars that like the audience get to know people, but like it's kind of a revolving door. Yeah, and it remains to be seen who's going to be on night to night. But yeah, Grady or whatever, he's always welcome on.
Yeah, just call him Grady. He's been doxxed like a motherfucker already. It doesn't matter.
I think he was calling himself Luke on the Dugan episode. But...
Yeah, but he doesn't care if you call him Grady.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I forgot like what he called himself. But...
He just that's just like a moniker. Like, but you can call him Grady.
It's different on Telegram too. So like when people have multiple names, you're never sure what to call them, right? But
Yeah.
it is what it is. Yeah, he was a cool guy though, for sure.
It'd be fun to get him to talk to Seamus about fucking Catholicism, because he hates Catholicism.
Based.
I don't know. We should do
People
an
who
episode.
hate Catholicism are often misled about what they believe Catholicism to truly be.
We should do an episode
Shut up,
on
Catholic
Russian.
cunt.
We should do an episode on Russian cosmism at some point for the Ortho Bros.
Oh, that sounds
No
good.
one said.
I mean,
friend,
even on religion, I don't really give a shit about religion. It's irrelevant. My religion is fascism.
That's so fucking cringe.
Yeah, I'm basically agnostic. Like I am reading the Bible, but like I'm agnostic. I consider myself like a cultural Catholic. But
Are
I
you going
mean,
to say that if I got
I'm
a gun up your
baptized. I
head?
go to church.
yeah, I'm
I
not.
go
I'm
to
not.
church and everything. But
I'm
if
not.
I was to be forced to decide between my ideology, my religion, I'd pick the ideology 10 times out of 10.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way.
Yeah, I grew up as like a Protestant, but I do
You
want to
grew up
like
as a
learn more
cock.
about religion. Yeah. I mean, like I didn't really like care back then when I was a kid, but I'm gonna like look more into like religion because I'm really like unexperienced. Besides like reading like the Bible a few times.
I mean,
Yeah.
it really doesn't matter that much unless you are really into religion. I mean, if you're not really into religion, then there's no point going into the whole theological concepts of religion. It doesn't teach you much for politics or philosophy or anything. It's
Yeah,
just
Teaches you quite a bit
I
for
just want to
philosophy.
like
I
I
don't
just want to
care.
confirm what my beliefs actually are. So I need to like look into it.
yeah, that's understandable. Same kind of pipeline that you end up with, I don't know, esoteric paganism.
Okay, that's just paganism just for political bullshit.
Yeah,
Like
paganism is
all I'm gonna
cringe.
say is like if like in a year or so like I call myself a Buddhist, like someone like put a bullet in my head, please.
I don't worry,
I'm
I
more
don't fuck
sympathetic to
Don't worry.
paganism
Yeah,
than
if it gets
Christianity,
that
honestly.
far, if it gets that far,
I'm into Eastern spirituality.
start calling you Evola.
Yeah, I don't know. Avala's book on Buddhism is actually good. I forget what it was
No, he
called.
stole it all, Gio. He fucking
Yeah, it's just that all the Buddhists
everything he
I've
wrote.
ever met
He did.
are
He
just
stole
really
fucking
insufferable.
90% of the shit he wrote from the Circle of Magi.
He literally wrote a ton of books before he even joined that circle, dude. Like,
He wrote a handful of books before he joined the Circle, and even before the Circle, the people that he worked with, who would later make up the Circle, he stole from left, right, and fucking.
I've
center.
never seen hard evidence of that being
This
true.
is the first I've heard of it.
I've talked to you about this before, Gio.
Yeah, I know, but you've never sent
He has
sent me.
dementia.
Shame you've
I
never
swear
actually
I've posted.
hard
Hold on. I
evidence.
swear I've posted. Hold on.
You
it's
posted
possible.
people saying it. We've never actually posted evidence of it happening. Like niggas, like rivals of Evola, of course, would have an incentive to say his work was bullshit. Like,
I mean, kind of is.
or we stole his work, I guess, is what I mean.
I think me and Seamus talked about like the Holy Grail book he did. I forget the title. But
Pursuit of the
Yeah.
Holy Grail or whatever.
yeah. Apparently, like that book is bullshit, and he was wrong about a bunch of stuff. But
Yeah, I mean, he conceives the Holy Grail as some kind of paganistic symbology when it was conceived from Christ's Last Supper. So it's physically impossible for that to overlap with any kind of pagan symbology,
yeah,
Correct.
since it's purely Judaic in origin, right? So it can't be
Christian,
a
you
northern
fuck.
pagan.
Yeah, but Christians do that shit all the time, though. They
I know,
take stuff
from
that's
time
pagan.
to time. No, from time to
No,
time.
they do it
No,
with
no, no, no.
everything.
Not even-
Christmas,
so,
Easter.
no. The big one, Christmas, first of all, was not taken from pagans. What you're confusing is Yuletide with the later traditions of Christmas. That wasn't stolen,
Halloween.
right? In fact, Halloween, that's not a Christian. What? That's not a Christian tradition.
Well, yeah, it's a tradition that's been Christianized.
No, that's just an American consumerist thing. It hasn't been Christianized. The Catholic Church doesn't like Halloween. It never really has. No church really likes Halloween.
What's up,
Yo,
Arch?
yo, what's up?
What's
We've
up,
had this
Arch?
discussion
It's been a
before.
minute.
Yo, what's up?
What the fuck? Is that Arjuna? Jesus
Yeah, it's
Christ.
Yes,
me,
it's
what's up?
Arjuna.
Praise
Yo.
the Lord.
Long time
Yo,
no
what's
see, bud.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're kind of just shooting the shit. There wasn't much to talk about in
Yeah,
chapter 6 of the
I got
so.
the stream recommended on my YouTube's like, oh shit, they're streaming. Might as well join.
Yeah.
Arjuna,
It's a good
tell everyone
episode.
what's been up with you, dude.
Nothing much really. Just been
What?
chilling, I guess.
I heard you're an Orthodox priest now.
That wasn't
Nah.
denial.
He became
No.
Orthodox
Yeah,
and
that's-
stopped being gay. That's it.
Yeah, that's about
Yeah,
it.
Arjuna,
Really.
why'd you stop being gay, dude? Explain.
Why
He
not?
converted to Orthodoxy, that's
Yeah.
why.
I'm sure there are gay Orthodoxes though.
Well,
That's
obviously.
not really, I don't view it as consistent.
Well, I mean, to be fair, the Nicene councils weren't over homosexuality; they were over the reading of the Bible.
Yeah, but the Eastern Fathers did talk smack as fuck about homosexuality.
Every sector of the church talks shit about homosexuality.
Besides for like Protestants.
From modern day Protestants in
Yeah,
the United
exactly.
States.
Exactly.
Dude, I know tons of Protestants that hate homosexuality. I don't know if that's
Yeah,
true.
you get your
it's like
Baptist
the more like
coalitions who are like, the
Americanized
faggots are going
progressive
to end
branches.
the world kind of people. And you have your inclusive trans priests from the
And then you have your God hates fags.
yeah, that's what I already said.
Baptist,
God hates Australia Baptist people. And then you
Yeah.
have the,
God does hate Australia though. That's true.
and then on the other side,
He just put all of his fucked up creations onto one island and called it Australia.
That's
Yeah,
true.
Futures of Fur is anti-Australian.
Yes.
If you're Australian, we ban you from the chat.
there's a
instantly.
correlation between people
Tony's
who are
still there.
anti-gay and anti-Australian.
Shout out to Tony and Novus. We have 2 Australians, so
Tony's is cool.
Australian.
He's the
Oh, yeah,
reason
yeah,
why
yeah.
we're doing this podcast, and he hasn't gone on one episode.
it's true. He begged me to do the Bonnot gang anyways, despite the results, and then he never showed up for a single episode. But he's only
And he
been on,
almost got on the first one, but there was a reason there. He just hasn't tried on all the others.
yeah. He's not into podcasting, which is fair. Like, you know, it's definitely.
He said he
not
wanted
for
to start up
everybody.
like a podcast with me though.
About Platonism.
Yeah.
Yeah, he told me he was going to start a podcast with you,
Yeah, I don't know.
but
what's going
I
on
didn't
with
see
that.
anything come out of that.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know what he's doing right now. Like, I know Zolt gave him like the homofash script to work on, but that's about it.
Hmm.
Oh Christ!
Like, I got
Embrace
for,
it,
like,
Seamus.
for like Zolt,
I'm
I'm
going
gonna
to
be
throw my social constructs onto my philosophy.
Yes, everything is one, Seamus. I'm
You
a
see, I'm
homofash.
gay, so I must make my philosophy be based around.
It's
my
not really. It's a homoeroticism channel. It's not even fascist.
Yeah,
that
it's
makes it
talks
worse.
about
that
the
it gives it a
essay.
fascist
It's just
name.
about like
and it
just
talks
like-
about
yeah.
Nazis. It doesn't even discuss actual homosexual fascists.
Yeah,
It talks
Zoltanus
well, yeah,
is
because
starting,
it isn't a
about
fascist
Rome
channel.
and his
Zol-
brown shirt jackboots who
Zoltanus
have
is
the
starting a
ideology
new
of
channel.
It's more than that. We also talk about Duragina.
Oh yeah.
Well, I posted some stuff.
Well, Dragon would be more like revolutionary conservatism and monarchism.
Yeah, in its later stages, it started off as an egoist magazine. Brand still remained an egoist.
Yeah, but like
You
when
get a
Blue
few
was-
political
like, when
articles.
Blue her,
Phylander
jumped on the
was,
bandwagon, became
I would call
conservative.
Phylander reactionary, although he took Stirner's critique
Well,
of
I really wouldn't even
Christianity.
call Blue her a reactionary either, but he was
Blue
like
hair.
associated with revolutionary conservatism.
Yeah,
revolutionary reactionarism.
but
Yes, I love my double negatives. My oxymoronic statements. Yes, yes.
Phylander, though, he has some interesting politics. Sadly, it's more all in German. It's more interesting not because it's actually something interesting, but just because it's there. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah,
It's like what's his fucking name? George Fitzhugh. It's not really super interesting. George Fitzhugh. We've VC'd about George Fitzhugh.
Oh
before.
yeah, him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember.
Who the fuck are you even talking about?
He's the guy who wants to bring back slavery or whatever.
Yeah.
No, he was a Southern slavery advocate who argued that he argued for slavery as a form of socialism.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember James was really obsessed with
Isn't he
Fitzhugh
still
for a
obsessed
while.
with the guy?
He's obsessed
James
with
doesn't post quotes from Fitzhugh anymore, but he still likes him.
Okay.
He only does Cabaret Voltaire and Dada content. And,
Oh, okay. Yeah, he got into Dada, right?
yeah, he got really heavy into Dada. He started a
What?
YouTube channel.
But also, George Fitzhugh didn't want racial slavery.
Yeah.
I see.
And his
Most
views
modern
was
day
actually
slavery
that
advocates
the
don't
white
care
race
about it.
was the best slave race.
Nice.
Yeah.
Bro, it's free labor though. It's free labor, bruh.
Yeah.
Exactly. Got that free ass labor. What's the problem?
It's free
So
labor,
you
dude.
take
It's
you
free
take
labor.
poor people and you just make them slaves. Now they have a house and everything.
Clearly, they're poor because they're lazy, right? So you gotta
True.
enslave them to make them rich.
He viewed slavery as a form of charity, Fitzhugh.
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
not making that up.
I've met slavery advocates. Are you familiar with Slavery Advocate Bones? He has a website.
Fucking
Yeah.
Dissident Bones. Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
him.
Dissident Bones, yeah.
We've all talked to that guy before.
I've talked to him before. Yeah, you see, promotion of slavery not by racial or whatever, but by poor being poor and needing charity.
He wants a racial society, though. It's
Yeah, he does want a
slavery in a
racial
white
society.
ethno state.
Yeah, because he's.
But he's also his advocate of slavery is mostly like for like the handicapped.
That's retarded.
Yeah.
It's more than just handicapped. It's whoever is poor.
That's so fucking
Clearly they-
stupid.
No, I'm talking to Duma. Why did I say Duma? Dissident Bones mostly wants slavery for like the handicapped and shit.
Not just I've
Which
read
is
his
why
shit,
he
not just the
shouldn't be
handicapped,
enslaved.
He also wants.
The handicapped would be the worst
the
to be
poor.
enslaved. They
Yeah.
couldn't do
Bones
any job.
views-
And
Bones
people who
views-
can't really make it on their own. It's the handicapped and people who can't make them on their own.
That's
who want
retarded.
to be enslaved.
So,
I know.
like, old people and children.
Yeah.
And poor
Such a,
people.
such a good proposal.
Yeah, that's like
He's
I
one of those
honestly
rocks.
think he just took it up to be edgy.
even ancient Rome.
You would think that. You would think that, but he's gone too far.
Yeah, he has.
He has gone
He
deep, but
is a support of slavery for it to be a lol. No, it's a troll guys moment.
I don't think it's just a troll. I think that he sort of
paid
has this
hundreds of
like
dollars, if not
this
thousands
sort of
of dollars to
complex to
upkeep
be
a
a
website.
contrarian, and so he took it up because it was edgy. Not necessarily that that's his reasoning. That's probably not how he intellectualizes, but that's what I think he's done.
There are just so many fucking things wrong with like bringing back slavery. It's not even something worth talking about.
Yeah. I
FF
know.
does not endorse slavery. I think it's a barbaric practice, and
As do I.
yeah,
But yeah, I have two books by Fitzhugh. I have Sociology of the South and what's the
Read
other?
them?
Cannibals All.
Even if I
And
was
like his views contradict each other. You can see his like essay. What is it? Liberty and Civilization. Then look at fucking Cannibals All. They're written around the same time, but his views on freedom have totally changed. And I think they've changed because he wants to advocate for slaves being more free.
at a certain point they just don't become slaves anymore.
It doesn't matter. They're still slaves, though, right? As long as
Yeah.
they're still slaves, they're not free. There's no capacity of leeway.
He views them as more free compared to like free
It doesn't
laborers
matter how
in the
how
north.
how much autonomy
I
you give
know.
to a
I'm
slave,
just
still a
stating his
slave.
view. You don't have to critique it. We all know it's retarded.
That's
yeah,
not
like,
true.
the definition of a slave is your property of somebody else.
Yeah.
So you're
Well,
literally
that's chattel slavery, but yeah.
yeah, sure. Yeah, you can have communal slavery, sure.
Yeah.
Communal
I-
slavery.
Yeah, he wanted the
Yeah.
abolishment of private property, and he in fact called it. He
State
used the
slavery,
term
my man.
communism too, and socialism.
Yeah. Socialist slavery, my man. You gotta
Yeah.
build.
He also
chains
used the
that
term
bind.
communism. Our communism is simple. That's the quote I'm thinking right now.
Yep. You gotta build the chains that bind them. You know.
Mhm.
So true.
James, I wish James was here because he's pro-slavery,
Yeah, that'd be funny.
but he wants to be the slave in this situation.
That's true. That's true.
It's just his kink. That's all.
I was like, James, you know you'd be like abused and you couldn't do anything about it. He's like, no, there would be laws around protecting the slaves.
They did
Those
have
are gonna be
laws that
followed.
did protect slaves in Mississippi. Just weren't
Yeah, but how
enforced too well.
would you even enforce them? Like,
You can't
Yeah.
mistreat a slave, but there wasn't really anyone who cared for the slave, so.
yeah, the slaves are like the lowest people in society. Who the fuck would care about the slave?
It's not like the lowest. They are the lowest.
Yeah, they
people in
are.
Society poll.
There's even an article, Dissident Bones, published on that. Mississippi, there was by fucking who forgot it was. Slavery laws in Mississippi. I think that's the article. You can look it up. But yeah, if you read that article, he states specifically we have laws against mistreatment of slaves, although they aren't enforced too well.
Yeah, of course.
It's
I
not
don't
like
know,
you're
man.
gonna have a slave agent on every plantation and farm and mine to ensure
Listen,
that
the
everybody's
correct
treating their
position
slaves
is
fair.
simple. A slavery for thee, but not for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. Bones, I'd have respected more if he was like, yeah, I want to be a slave. Like James does.
I would respect him more if he just went like full on bring back Southern slavery rather than this weird gay thing where you're just enslaving a bunch of handicapped people. You're retarded and you're stuck in the past, but I don't know.
Handicapped people be
No,
the
he
worst
should like
slaves.
move to fucking like I don't know Somalia and like enslave a bunch of children.
Yeah.
It'd be more. It would cost more though, because when they're children, they can't really do labor that well.
No,
and
that's
you have
true
to feed-
futurist practice.
you
You're
have to-
getting the
you have to-
youthful ones.
Even if you were completely amoral, enslaving children would be stupid. You have to feed them and
No,
clothe them and
Alkaz, you
pay
don't
for them.
understand. It's the futurist way because you're getting them young.
Yeah. It's the beauty of
Teaching them
youth.
to be slaves.
Arjuna, I'm gonna enslave you and make you write
Whoa.
video scripts for me.
Whoa. Oh no, it's so over. I
Yeah.
have like a bunch of scripts I need to write for Zol.
I actually don't have any I need to write
Like,
for
I'm
him.
gonna
I pretty
write
much
one.
got them
I'm gonna
all
do
done.
I'm doing a futurism one for Zolt. I'm also doing a Mishima one, and then Zolt and I are gonna work on a Berserk script.
Okay, the anime shit is going too far, man. Like I like Berserk, but
Bro, he wants to do a Berserk script with
that's
me.
gay. Yeah, if you're an adult, you should not be that fucking into anime as a
He
part.
wants to do a Berserk script.
Zolt wants to transition out of That's a fucking transition out of fascist content and start doing anime content.
Like, he
Yeah,
wants
he had his
No
top
pun
10
intended. No pun intended.
He had his top 10 fascistic anime series.
Oh, I
or
remember
whatever
that. I
video.
remember.
Yeah, but he wants to make an anime channel where he reviews like Watamote and stuff.
Nah, it's like one anime episode he wants to do with me, and then he wants to do the traditionalist critique of fascism shit with me.
Mm-hmm. He
And
hasn't
then I think
asked a
that's the
whole lot of
last
me
thing I'm working
lately.
on with him.
Like
Archana, what are your
Ebola-
future plans though? Like
Oh, like in terms of what?
everything, online content.
In terms of online content, like I'm gonna, help Zolt out. And after that, I have nothing planned.
You should fucking write articles for the website, man.
What would I write?
I
You
don't
still
know,
owe me an
man.
article, Drac.
I know I do.
Like, what would I write?
Fucking, I don't know, man. Write what you want to write. It's an open forum.
Okay.
I don't know what to write about either. But I haven't written anything yet.
I haven't written anything for that either. I guess
The
I'm
only-
working
the only
on
one
a
who's actually made
script
articles
for
is
gay
Indiana.
liberation in
I mean,
Germany
like-
and Hegel's philosophy of right. Not philosophy of right. I've got that one done. The science of logic.
Oh yeah, have you started reading it yet?
Well, the science of logic. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've
you
gotten
have?
through it.
Alright. I'm probably never gonna touch Hegel besides for his like political philosophy.
The philosophy of right's an easy
Fucking
read.
crazy.
Yeah, I'm gonna read the philosophy of right, but I'm not even.
Well, the
gonna
philosophy of
go-
right has a lot of points on politics and statecraft, so it's a decent read if you're going to read Hegel's statecraft.
Yeah, I don't want to read his metaphysics. Like, I don't want to like torture
I
myself.
fucking
like that.
hate metaphysics, man. It's pointless. Fucking.
I'm a fan of
Over
metaphysics, but I just don't
intellectualization.
care for Hegel's metaphysic.
Metaphysics in general, man, they're just.
That's good. It's a good topic. I can
Metaphysics is
talk about
good
it for a
and
while.
all, but Hegel's metaphysics, it's like you're not gonna understand it unless you're like on 20
No, it's not.
different
It's not
drugs.
as hard as you think. Like I could read the argument for the unity of being and nothing. It's a very
Yeah,
simple.
I wish I knew what any of that meant, Lane.
Being and nothing, the unity of being and nothing. So being passes over to nothing.
You and
nothing
every other
passes over to
layman,
being,
right?
and then
Okay,
that
now I
process is called
understand, thank
becoming.
you. Thank you.
Lane, I know you say you're not into Lane, but why did you name your fucking OS project after Lane if you hate Lane?
This was a long time ago. I was doing like Emacs videos, and that was the first name they came up with. And it was after that software project I showed you.
Yeah, I know.
And I was more into Lane then, and like really my opinion is it's whatever, and now this name's just sort of stuck, and I hate this name. I've been thinking about changing it to like Got Ammo, my Twitter handle, Got Ammo 7.
Did you get like dysphoria after watching the anime?
No, I did not get gender dysphoria. I did make that joke though in the video. It's amazing I still don't own a pair of programming socks.
Yeah.
It is amazing. I should have become a tranny right now, but I'm resisting with just pure willpower. I'm fighting the sissy urges.
Your hair is already long enough, man. Just shave.
I've had it long since I was 10.
Sure.
I'll probably keep it long. I almost cut it for wrestling, but they didn't make me. I just got this hair cap and then put it in a man bun, and so I just look like a pinhead.
Yeah, man buns are retarded. Like, if you wear a man bun, you're gay.
My last job made me wear one.
You're past gay.
Have you ever imagine what, like, when you have hair like mine? Imagine what 12 hours in a man bun does.
Short
Once
hair
you
is
take
the
it all
best.
out.
I can't imagine because I've never
Just
had
go
hair
bald. I
like
think that's the best option.
No.
If you intellectualize it, bald is the best option.
Being bald is the haircut for slaves.
And if I ever start balding, I'll just shave it all off because a bald head looks better than a balding head. But I'm probably not going to bald. My grandmother just started to gray.
Nice.
Good genetics, I guess.
Yeah, my grandfather is bald though.
Oh.
Maybe that's why the Nordic side. My dad still has a full head of hair. My great grandfather had a full head of hair when he died.
Yeah, I know Miyazaki didn't consider his work to be anime.
Yeah.
He's the only good anime director or whatever, though. His movies are wholesome.
They are.
And
I like
hated
Princess
anime.
Mononoke.
The guy who wrote Lane actually has some good stuff. Technolize is alright. I actually really like Kaibane Renmei.
You've completely lost me.
Yeah. I like Japanese comic books like seinen more, because that's actually for adults.
What?
Never mind, Seamus. It's okay.
It's
So
for,
what was this episode about anyway? Because like I joined.
It was
late.
about the Bonnot gang.
Chapter 6. They stole
Yeah, then you
Bank robbers.
interrupted us, Arjuna.
It's like you're speaking another language. Like, what the fuck are you going on
Learn
about?
Japanese, Seamus. They're the true Aryan people.
So true.
I may learn German, but that's partly because I want to read Stormbart.
Best.
Stormbart's main work is only in German. I have The Jews and Modern Capitalism. I have another collection of his writings that has a bit from, what is it, Modern Capitalismos? That's the title, Modern Capitalism. It includes a bit from that, translated, but only a bit.
Nice.
I have a lot of his old Marxist stuff. That's mostly what's been translated. Socialism and the Social Movement. Why there's no socialism in the United States? The person who recommended me socialism, no, why there's no socialism in the United States overhyped it. It's an alright study, I guess. He undermines, I guess, American poverty at that time.
Real.
Which is something that was pointed out in the introduction. And there's another, not the editor's introduction. There's a few other things that the editor's introductions point out that I thought was retarded. It tried to say that his view of moving westward was contradictory to his views that Americans like capitalism, which I don't know. Saying different people have different attitudes doesn't seem like a contradiction to me.
Yeah.
But like a lot of the introductions on Stombart are just retarded. I don't know why.
Looks like Big Chungus. Just saying.
I've never thought of it like that, but now I can't
Not
unsee
wrong.
it.
Does look like
Can't
Big Chungus.
unsee it.
But I still don't understand what this part is about here. Like, who is
It's someone's
Miziki?
YouTube video. I'm not gonna play that.
No, who is Miziki though?
It's Miyazaki. He's a Japanese animator. Makes wholesome.
He made movies.
He did Princess Mononoke and stuff like that. Porco Rosso. I'm not sure if he directed that one, but Porco Rosso is like my favorite.
He
Yeah.
directed that one, I'm pretty sure.
It takes place.
Gio, do you
in
identify with
Human
the
shit.
main character?
He's a pig who flies planes.
Yeah, do you identify with him a lot?
Yeah, man.
This looks like a child show.
It is. It takes place in Fiume, and he doesn't like fascism, and he wants to sit out the war and all that. So he goes to Fiume, and yeah, he's a conscientious objector and shit. But it's a beautiful movie. It's very Mediterranean. Played by a pig who flies airplanes. Like, who wouldn't like this guy? Like,
It's a
His
good
movies were sort of
Weird,
family movies. I wouldn't necessarily call them children movies, but family movies for the most part.
yeah, grown-ups.
I wouldn't
can
watch
enjoy
this
it.
with my kid. Fuck no.
Howl's Moving Castle is another good one.
Well, I actually like Howl's Moving Castle.
Yeah, Spirited Away is
Right?
good.
What's that
I've
one?
heard
where
Spirited
there's
Away
like the
was good,
castle
but I
in the
never had a
sky.
chance to
God,
see it.
is that the name of it? Castle in the Sky.
I think so. All his movies are good though. He never
Yeah.
made a bad movie. I like Princess Mononoke the best though.
The guy who made Paprika also doesn't have any bad movies. Paprika and Perfect Blue. Like, the worst thing he did was like an animated series.
Why is this short-haired Italian woman kissing a pig?
Cause that's how Italians roll, man. They get bitches no matter what they look like.
It's true.
No, you're talking about the fucking Nausicaa in the Valley of the Wind.
Yeah.
That's a
Okay.
good one.
That one's the good one. I don't think that's the one I was thinking of, but that's a great one. The Valley
Kiki's
of the
Delivery
Wind.
Service, My Neighbor Totoro.
My Neighbor Totoro is sort of overrated, but that's not to say it's bad, but
Hold on, is that him manning a machine gun?
yeah.
He was a conscientious objector.
He's not a pacifist though. Like, he fights people and shit.
He's not a conscientious objector either.
Yeah, it says better a pig than a fascist.
Seamus is not like this character.
I don't.
He's cool. It's a good movie.
It is. I like it.
Well, he is a pig, so why would he say I'd rather be a pig than a fascist? He already is a pig.
True.
It's objectively a pig, so that is true.
He's literally a pig.
He also has his own island that he lives on. Or does he just take vacations there? I can't remember, but that's where we open. Is him on that island.
Yeah, it is. It is a Miyazaki movie. I was right.
You should put timestamps because if people actually want to learn about fucking the Bonnot gang, they're gonna be like, "What the fuck?" Why
That's at the beginning.
All right, true.
It's at the beginning. It's easy to find. It's just no one had anything to say about the actual text, so there was
Sure.
There wasn't much
Text
really to
out.
talk about.
there was no discussion really. I mean, the text kind of speaks for itself. I needed like a true crime enthusiast who's gonna like this book kind of reads like a true crime novel or something.
Hmm.
So like the text kind of speaks for itself. It's not theory heavy. You're not gonna have like
The discussion period on
So-
what they meant.
differing points of view. If we had people who were like true crime enthusiasts, though, like we're really into bank robbers in general and shit, like there'd be more to talk about, I guess. But I got a bunch of political dudes who don't have much to say about.
Yeah,
That's-
man.
It is what it is. Like
What other texts do you plan on covering?
Right now, Mark Fisher's book, and there's one other one that on situationalism.
Yeah,
Dio has
You plan
planned.
on covering capitalist realism?
I'm thinking about it. I'm reading it now, and I think it would be a good conversation starter. It's a pretty popular book.
It's an interesting take. I agree that that the lack of an alternative system in action has caused most people to simply view capitalism as the end all of political evolution.
My
Yeah.
friend
Which
read the
leads
book. He said it's
formally
pretty good.
anti-capitalistic movements into mere movements that seek to mitigate the worst effects of capitalism,
Yeah,
not actually ending the system itself.
yeah. I think it will be a good book to do. I'm also thinking about doing Revolution of Everyday Life by Raoul Vanegan. And I do want to cover the Situationist International eventually. That's a good book. Like, it would be a good series. I think I'm also considering The Fascist Movement in Italian Life by Pietro Borgolini, because most of our audience are like fascists or third positionists. I think that's the kind of content they want, more so than like weird anarchist movements or like illegalist content or the
If
kind
you
of
do the
stuff we've been
capitalist
covering.
realism one, I might be on for that. As for anything
Yeah.
else, I mean, don't really care.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll probably do a poll like I did with the futurist text today and see what our audience wants to watch the most, rather than me just arbitrarily picking things that are interesting to me but are not necessarily of interest to that many other people, like Bonnot Gang. But um, we're almost halfway done the book, though. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, the reason
know.
why I haven't been on is I've just like been doing my own thing, I guess.
You sound like you've been busy, and you're still in school, so.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
school and shit.
That's fair. Like, you're always welcome on. Like, it's open invite format, so whoever shows up shows up. I don't really like beg people to come on or anything, so
Yeah, it's just like what you guys been doing. It's not really anything that I'd be interested in.
Yeah, we did. Did you watch the Dugan podcast?
I haven't got
we
a
did
chance
couple
to
weeks
watch.
ago?
I wanted to be on, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good podcast. I mean, there was good conversation, but the podcast was a shit show itself.
Yeah, I wasn't really happy with how it turned out. It's getting good views though. It's like over 400.
That's just because it's Dugan.
Yeah, exactly.
Praxis of national Bolshevikism, protesting the McDonald's.
I wouldn't call him a nationalist or a Bolshevik, and the text was
He used to be.
confusing as fuck.
Dugan was a big Nat
Yes.
back in the day, which is
Yeah,
what I'm
He
referencing.
left because it
Back when
didn't
he
really
was-
have a clear
back when he was
ideological
a national
plan.
Bolshevik. Back when he
Yeah, I
was a
wouldn't really
national
describe.
He was at the
Dugan as a
founding of the
national
party,
Bolshevik
but he
now,
left because
back
it
when he was
didn't.
back when he was a fucking national Bolshevik, the national Bolsheviks conducted their first and only primary action, which was to protest a fucking McDonald's.
Mhm. Yeah, I said he left because it didn't have too much of an
Yeah, I wouldn't
ideological
really
plan,
consider,
but
like,
he was
Dugan
there at the
today, like, a
beginning and during the
national-
biggest parts.
To be honest, Limonov is more interesting to me than Dugan is.
I prefer Dugan.
I would have rather done a different Dugan text, like just doing the fourth political theory and talking about that would have been
Dugan
better
has a
than, like-
lot of other works besides her fourth political
Yeah.
theory.
I'm planning on reading the Eurasian Mission soon, like I have it. And
I haven't read it
World
myself,
Island,
but from what I've been told, it does like it. A lot of people have misconceptions of what Dugan is talking about, since they just don't bother reading him, and a lot of his work is very hard to read,
Okay.
which is a big problem with Westerners
Yeah,
interpreting Dugan.
I've still only read the fourth political theory, and I didn't think it was too hard to read. I agree with his like basic analysis of where we're at. I don't necessarily co-sign where he goes with it. Like, I wouldn't call myself a Eurasianist, but
Fucking Eurasian.
I had talked about this on the
Fuck's sake.
podcast so many times already that it's just like I'm repeating myself.
Well, because
That text was also a terrible
if
text
you're
that we
not,
did on
if
the
you're not in
podcast from
Europe, you
Dugan.
really can't be a Eurasianist.
Yeah, CSD didn't proofread the text at all, so there were sections that repeated themselves. It was like full of grammatical errors. Like it was,
And it was difficult to like tell what he was trying to say. Like, okay, Bakunin was an anti-Semite. He's just stated there in the middle. So is he trying to say that Bakunin is part of the conservative revolution in Russia because he's an anti-Semite? That seems weird for Dugan, and that seems weird in general.
I think it's like a weird translation error.
Who knows? It talks. Okay, here's Bakunin. He was anti-Semitic. He was pan-Slavic. There we go. Conservative revolution.
there was really no flow to the article. It was just like a survey history.
I,
with
I
like
think I know where
brief,
Dugan
like,
was trying to go with that.
brief descriptions of various like conservative groups throughout Russian history that none of us are really familiar with. Like, there wasn't much to talk about. The guy who wanted to do it, CSD, was like off hunting in the woods, like dropping out every 2 minutes. Horrible, like
Yeah,
internet
like
connection.
like Dugan. I mean, to really understand a lot what he says, you have to have a really good knowledge of Russian history.
Which like none of us did. So
Not
Yeah.
even CSD had.
yeah,
It's that advanced. I mean, like the only person like that I could think of who's actually understood Dugan is like Matthew Johnson, because he's actually read Dugan.
yeah.
And he's read. Well, Matthew Johnson read him in Russian. He knows
he does-
Russian,
yeah,
and he's
exactly.
coming
read
from
him
a
in
similar
Russian.
place
He also
as
has
Dugan.
the necessary background in Russian history and just in general philosophy. So that's what like I was watching his video on Dugan, and I stopped watching it the moment he said Dugan believes in Hyperborea. I was like, I just stopped.
Dugan Hyperborea. Woo!
I was like,
I
what
will,
the
I will
fuck?
make it to Hyperborea.
No,
Well,
like
of
for
course he
Dugan,
does. He's taking
Hyperborea
from,
is
like,
always just the
Ebola.
mythos that countries have of like a far northern region. That's all Hyperborea is to Dugan. And basically he says Hyperborea is Siberia.
Mhm.
Real.
Yeah, Dugan's a funny guy.
He's a funny-looking guy. I like his hair. It's just funny to me. It's
Yeah.
like
I
all
like how, like,
balding, and then
people,
there's
like,
this
tries-
part, and it often like has splits. Like
People are like
Oh.
overplaying him, even though he literally just runs like a fucking small ass TV show in Russia. And
Mhm.
just like talks with random Westerners. That's all he does.
Dugan?
Like he literally talks with the ortho bros from the West. That's all he does nowadays.
well, you can just email him.
Yeah, like he had like multiple conversations with Jay Dyer, which I think is pretty funny.
Mhm.
I'm aware of the one interview they had, but like I didn't know he'd been on Jay Dyer's channel. Like
Oh
multiple
yeah, Zol
times.
told me Dyer wanted to debate him.
Did he?
Yeah,
That
Dyer
would
wanted to
be a
debate
good debate.
Zoltanus on his deism. That'd be
Really?
interesting, but Zol
That would be.
refused.
Yeah. Jay Dyer knows his shit as far as like.
I love
Christianity
Dyer.
I like Dyer too. I like his film analysis. That's
Oh
kind of
yeah,
what got me
Esoteric
into
Hollywood.
him,
I don't
but-
really watch him for Esoteric Hollywood though.
Yeah, that's kind of what drew me in. Like I liked his film.
Yeah, like his main
analysis,
thing
but-
is Esoteric Hollywood. That's what he like went to study in university, like film and like pop culture. But
Yeah.
he eventually like got pulled into debates, and that's why he also started going into philosophy, since he also had a background in philosophy.
Yeah,
But that's the main reason I listen to him, like his
He-
theology, philosophy.
he is a good debater too. Like he'd be an intimidating opponent. I didn't know that he wanted to debate Zolt though. That's
Yeah, Zolt
cool.
told me yesterday. It's like, what the fuck, bro? That'd have been interesting. But like, I just
Yeah.
told like Zolt, no offense, like you'd get fucking raped though.
Yeah,
like, not to hate on Zolt, but he would get ass raped beyond belief.
yeah. Jay Dyer knows his shit, and he's a good debater.
Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah,
I like Dyer.
Yeah, I'm still a fan of his content.
I haven't seen really much of his Esoteric Hollywood stuff, but yeah.
Yeah.
I bet
I
that's
don't know
good.
who he is.
I think he gets too much into conspiracy theories for me, but like that's also a big part of what he does. Like there's
Yeah, I mean, I don't really necessarily have
analysis.
an issue with that stuff personally, but that's his
Yeah.
main thing.
I like conspiracy theories every
Like,
once
I
in
don't
a
really have a
while.
problem if he like talks about them. That's what he's interested in mainly.
Yeah, yeah.
But I
So
don't
he
really
does-
watch him for that.
He does like the film analysis stuff, the Orthodox Christianity philosophy stuff.
Yeah, that's what
and
I
then the
mainly watch him
conspiracy
for.
stuff.
I think he's also pretty funny.
Yeah, and yeah, he does impressions and stuff. He's kind
He's
of a
pretty funny
comedian.
at times.
Yeah, I like Jay Dyer. It's a cool channel. It's not super like relevant to futurism.
Yeah,
but,
it's like it's not even like he'd probably be antagonistic to futurism if anything.
Yeah, Marinetti rejected Christianity.
Yeah,
It was-
that too. Dyer wouldn't really be a fan. He's not even a fan of fascism or National Socialism.
no.
Like he's really had to tell people in his server to quit like the whole Hitler stuff because he doesn't want to
Yeah.
get banned.
He was on Mysterium Fasces like back in the day. I think that's like where I heard of him initially.
Oh,
Yeah, I
dude,
wouldn't be
you used to
surprised, but
watch
nowadays
Mysterium
he's not really a
On
fan
what?
of that stuff.
On what?
Yeah, it was Florian Geyer's Orthodox Christian fascist show. He was like on Iron March and
What?
shit.
Dyer was on
Yeah.
Iron March?
Yeah, he was. Mysterium Fasci was started
Yeah.
on Iron March. There was
That's
a thread about it.
scary. That's
Jay
horrifying.
Dyer did an interview with Mysterium Fasces. It was a good episode, and that's
That's
like where I found
scary.
out about him. Yeah,
But yeah, not like Dyer, like he's gone
Reed
past that
Squire's
stuff.
trial. Fuck.
But like now,
Iron
like I know, like
March.
Dyer and like his close friends are pretty antagonistic towards fascism.
yeah,
Like one of
Yeah.
his Ortho bros,
Oh.
Michael Witkoff, like had his entire episode like about like basically saying stop relying on fascism, you autists.
Oh well. Cope and
Yeah.
see.
he's got that interview with who's that guy? He was on the Euro Bureau of Literaturo or whatever with Dempster. His name escapes my memory. He did an interview with that guy too, and he's like an orthodox monarchist kind of dude politically. He's not a fascist. He's very
Yeah, no,
critical
Dyer
of
like
it.
he is an open monarchist.
Yeah, monarchy is gay, man.
He is a
Monarchism is
monarchist, but I
gay.
don't think he's too a hard line on that.
Yeah,
Like his main thing isn't well. I mean, no, one of his main things is politics, but he doesn't like spurg about like we need a monarchy or whatever. Like I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure he's covered Ivan. Actually, I don't know if he's covered Ilin. I know Johnson has covered Ilin multiple times.
he's done interviews with Matthew Raphael Johnson.
Yeah, he
too.
had one about the American postmodern empire versus the Orthodox Empire. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the one with Johnson.
Yeah.
I've never heard of any of these people.
Well, it's
They're like the-
we're
they're
at
like
an
the
hour
Ortho
30
bros
right now,
online.
and it has
I
nothing to
wouldn't-
do with the text.
Yeah. It's still a good discussion, like as long as the
Yeah.
discussion is lively. Arjuna came in late too, so like he hasn't been on for a while. So
Yeah, I haven't
want
been
people
on for a
time
while.
to hang out and talk. It's been a while since people have seen him on, so you know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wasn't the
Yeah,
last time like the
guy,
Darst episode?
Was I
Yeah.
for Dada?
Yeah,
Yes, I
you were
was,
there
yeah.
for like half the episode, but that was the last time, and that was like episode 11 or 13 or something. So
Hmm.
yeah, that was like 3 months ago, I think.
Yeah. Just been doing my own stuff, I guess. That's why I
Yeah,
haven't been
yeah.
on here. Like, I've also been trying to like distance myself from like the Zolt's community as well, and like this stuff, because I don't really like identify with fascism anymore.
That makes
That's
sense.
gay.
Do-
What
do
are you
want-
now
Then
arguing?
you were then
do
you were
wanna
never a
elaborate on
fascist.
Yeah,
You were
I don't
never a
care.
fascist.
I
Do you
really
want-
don't
Do you
care.
want to elaborate
what are you
on
now
why
arguing?
you're?
Huh?
Do you want to elaborate on like why you no longer identify
Shit,
with
oh,
fascism?
I'll
or-
say one thing though, Seamus, you and Judas actually agree on that, because Judas will like say anybody who says they're not fascist anymore is was
Somebody
never
who says they're
fascist.
fascist and abandons fascism was never a fascist.
Yeah, Judas
Number
literally
one.
says the same thing.
Yeah, I really don't care. Like, my main thing it's from a metaphysical critique anyway. Like, I don't agree with any of the underlying the basis of fascism, I can't agree with it. So that's
Kind
why I
of
don't identify.
self-contradictory.
Essentially,
Like all forms of relativism are.
exactly. That's why I will not follow. I'm not gonna identify with fascism. I don't know what I call myself, like politically. Like, I don't know, like in terms of like I'm still a corporatist, like a syndicalist, whatever. Like I'm a fan of that stuff, but I don't really know what I'm gonna call myself. Like I don't really care.
Oh, I
Anyway.
only call myself a Hegelian and a
Like
leftist.
I think
Those are
the
fine terms, at
extent of
least
which
for
I will
me.
call myself a Hegelian is I agree with his political philosophy. That's it. I don't like his metaphysics.
What do you mean by you can't agree with the underlying basis of fascism?
I don't.
He
agree
doesn't
with
like actualism.
I do not like actualism.
Cringe.
Dude, you're a Christian. You literally can't reconcile the two. I don't know why you're like even trying.
I don't really care about religion.
Okay, that makes sense then. Never mind. My bad.
I
was
don't
under the
give a shit.
impression
I
you're, like, a
actually said this
Christian.
earlier in the chat that if I had to choose between ideology and religion,
I don't.
fascism 10
Maybe
times
if
out
I
of
was
10.
here for that, my bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. I was just repeating it. You know, since you
Okay,
weren't
yeah. Alright, nah, it's cool then. Cause like I do see like fascists like trying to call themselves Christians, which I think is really stupid.
Well, there's an argument that you can make in the there's certain Christian aspects to the ideas.
Yeah,
philosophies
sure, but
of
the
fascism.
underlying worldview is just like
Yeah,
completely
I know.
opposed,
The
yeah.
worldview of the state being totalitarian and above all else.
Not
fights
even
for the
that, like
gods.
actual idealism is pretty relativistic, while like Christianity with like Catholicism and like also Orthodoxy, it's very what's the word, like objectivist, I guess, in this sense.
I mean,
don't
there
know.
was people like Armando Carlini, right? Who somehow managed to justify that fascism was able to be Christian, right?
Yeah, but I would like
Is-
fundamentally disagree with that, because like you're gonna have to reject like for Catholicism the whole scholasticist tradition, and like for Orthodoxy like the entire patristic tradition to like be able to.
Oh, well, I mean, to a
reconcile.
degree you will, but in the religiousity of art and philosophy, Carlini makes a pretty solid argument for exactly that of correlating, or sorry, bringing about a more objectivist perspective of Christianity, and even the more rigid Catholic conceptions and dogma.
I see.
Right. Like there's a couple of things that he puts out, like outlines of a realistic conception of the human spirit and In Search of Myself, which it sort of expands upon Gentile's concepts of what fascism needs to be within the political sense, in allowing more of a Christian concept.
Well, like I bet say like ultimately like with like actualism, it's perception actualizes reality. Like that'd
Yeah.
go against like the entire metaphysics of Christianity.
Well, I mean, you can sort of describe the concept of the fascist state and the religious idea of God as very similar events, right? The state is not a real thing.
Yeah, I
It's
wasn't
a
referring to
physical
that.
entity.
Specifically referring
Yeah.
to like in the actual idealist framework that reality is an actualization through perception, which is like contrary to what like the church would teach and has been teaching.
Well, of course, right? The Catholic Church has always been very rigid in its dogma, but he does make a good argument for how you can correlate the two, and how it's a lot easier.
I mean, I guess
for
you could have like some
non-denominational-
correlation, but you'd have to sacrifice one or the other ultimately.
And I mean,
which
there's ways for non-denominational Christians to be involved with the fascists.
Yeah, because they don't even involve themselves in dogma or like
Yeah.
worldviews or whatever.
It's just God is real. Move on.
yeah, that's all it is for them.
Yeah. The
Like-
church has a very complicated history of dogma.
Yeah,
its
it's
perspectives
very
are accepted,
complex.
right? So it's hard to correlate the two.
And like with
But in the
fascism, it
Catholic
tried to be like a
Church-
wholly new doctrine too, as well.
The church did allow itself to be latched to fascism in some degree for a few years.
Yeah,
at
I'm
least.
aware about that, but
So in the end, the compromise was not made by the fascist state or the ideas of fascism. It was made by the Catholic Church.
yeah, like obviously, you know, like cooperation did exist between the church and whatnot, but what I'm referring to is like something a bit more specific when I'm saying this.
Mhm.
Like obviously, you know, the church did cooperate with the state and whatever, but I don't really think you'll be consistent if you want to call yourself a Christian and a fascist, since ultimately you're either going to sacrifice one or you're going to sacrifice one over the other. Is my view.
Yep. Well, I would agree with that for a large amount of Catholics, especially. But then again, of course, there are examples of people who made it work somehow.
I disagree with that, but
I don't think they made it work. They just called themselves both.
Armando Carlini made it work.
He just called himself both.
No. He released a whole list of arguments and how they're overlapping and how they actually work. It's hard to get into.
Okay, then name one. Give one.
I've already named a bunch of them. The religiosity of art and philosophy outlines a realistic conception of the human spirit.
Describe the argument.
Like, I think I understand what he's saying, but, like, ultimately, like, my point still stands. Like, the underlying basis of the one is completely at odds with the other. Because, like, with Christianity, I mean, you know, you have, like, the Platonic doctrine of, you know, a world, an immaterial world that exists ontologically, irrespective of perception, that will exist, even if it's not perceived. So there's no, like, actualization through perception.
I mean, you can make an argument from Augustine of Hippo. He's a part of the Catholic dogma, and his concept was the universal ethical foundation, right, is key to interpreting human existence, right, and how Christian truth, Catholic truth, right, is centered on a higher entity that transcends. And that could be correlated with the ideas of fascist philosophy. That's one of the
with
arguments
Augustine too, I mean, he was like the main proponent of Neoplatonism in Christianity, and like my thing applies just as much, if not even more. This Neoplatonism is much more specific in its doctrine of the forms, since the forms are like the only things that can be said to be real in themselves, really. So, like, again, like, even if there's a no actualization through perception, they will still exist. While actual idealism, it holds that, you know, its reality is actualized through perception.
Well, of course, right. Then again, you have in the concepts of those who wrote it. Giovanni was an atheist, right? He completely opposed the concept of religion.
Didn't he call himself like a cultural Catholic?
I'm sorry, what?
Didn't Gentile call himself a cultural Catholic, though?
I'm not sure about that. I know he was extremely anti-church.
I see.
He was extremely anti-clerical. And he put himself in the church a whole lot.
He's described himself as believing in God, but a God in man. And he called people who go against his idealism the real atheist.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Which is
it's reminiscent of
code.
Robespierre's supremacy of what is it called? The cult of supremacy of the mind. You know,
yeah, this is like one of the reasons why I don't really identify fascism anymore. Like this whole this actual idealism stuff, I don't really agree with it.
Have you moved on from like futurism too, or like?
I mean, I respect futurism from like an aesthetical point of view and whatnot, but I'm not really a futurist.
Okay.
Futurist aesthetics are still like fire as fuck, though.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Russian cosmism?
I've never looked too much into them.
There is a lot of like Orthodox Christianity going on in there. I brought it up earlier this evening. Like I don't know that much about it. Like,
I might look into their avant-garde movements.
Yeah. Their aesthetics are like very futurist, and like
that's
there
cool.
is overlap, but it's like mixed in with Orthodox Christianity. And
that's pretty cool, actually.
A few people have like asked me about it, and like they want us to.
What are they called? The Russian cosmetists?
Cosmicists.
Cosmicists. Let me see.
Yeah, Russian cosmism.
Fuck Russia.
Oh, I've heard of these guys before.
Yeah, I'll bring it up.
They seem interesting.
Yeah, like this is like what their art looks like. This one's pretty famous.
That's pretty cool.
And yeah. I don't know that much about them. Like I would have to do research.
Yeah, same. Like I've never like.
Yeah. It is on the to-do list. It's not currently on the schedule, but I would like to
All right. When you do them,
cover it
like,
at
let me
some
know. I'd
point.
be interested.
Yeah, that would be a good episode for you.
I'd be interested in that.
Now, Arjuna, I have an interesting thing to poke you with here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Fascism, of course, it wasn't just an Italian thing. Gio, don't say anything.
Of course. Of course.
Right, it was a very universal movement, anti-Europa and whatnot. Now, Engelbert Dollfuss is a great example of the fascist outside of Italy. His rulership of Austria was completely and utterly backed by the bishops of Austria, the cardinals of Austria, and overall the Catholic Church. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he made commentary against clericalism despite that, and the Catholic Church continued to support him, stating, quote, "The construction of our state according to the Christian Catholic spirit has nothing in common with clericalism. In fact, we reject clericalism and all of its tenets. Our bishops have proved this by the decision, for which us too is a hard one. The priests have withdrawn in the political life and from the Church itself in favor of the state." Now, he said that March 4th, 1934.
Mm-hmm.
So he had a Catholic state, right? A state with official Catholic recognition from the Church, and with the backing of the Austrian conclave, right? The Austrian portion of the conclave.
Mm-hmm.
And yet he espoused actual idealism as the main proponent of his system.
Yeah, I'd just say he's being inconsistent then. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm not denying that, you can have a Catholic state or whatever, like, you can support the church and whatever. But that doesn't really say much if we're talking about, like, on a basic level, what these two worldviews are.
Yes, but I mean, as an action of existence, right? The Catholic dogma would state that this state would be opposed to it, right? The state would need to be opposed by the Catholic Church by its dogma.
Mm-hmm.
Yet
Yes.
the Catholic Church stood firmly alongside it.
Yeah, that'd just be, political motivations and pragmatism. Ultimately, all institutions will fall to that.
What do you think about what Charles A. Cologne said? Austrofascism is a silly term meant to shut down discourse. It means as little as calling the New Deal Americo-fascism.
Well, when you think about it, it would be like trying to compare FDR and his commentary on, wow, that Italian gentleman seems real nice, to Engelbert Dollfuss, who, and I'm not being facetious here or hyperbolic, literally said, "My doctrine is that of fascism, nothing else. Fascism." So, in to call it Austrofascism, I reject that too. I don't like a prefix to fascism. Fascism is a universal idea, right? You can't prefix it.
Yeah. Charles Cologne is like he's like a tradcath monarchist dude.
So
he's a big fan of Dollfuss. He just doesn't consider him a fascist.
So when Dollfuss said, "Hello, I am a fascist," he went, No. He doesn't actually mean he's a fascist." Sort of like people. It's like the Peronists who were like, "No, when Peron said, 'My idea is that of Benito Mussolini. I wish to follow in his footsteps and avoid his pitfalls. I am a fascist.'" When he said that, Peronists are like, No, he didn't actually mean he's a fascist. It's a cope.
People on the left think Peron is their guy too.
Well, we are of the left. Fascism is of the left. There's no of the left against. We are of the left. Peron is our guy.
I would agree with that. I think it's mostly a left-leaning.
Well,
ideology.
just if you look at it in the most basic and fundamental terms, left being social and right being capital, right? The fascist economics, even if it's not in the Marxian concept, if it's not communism, right? It's not a dictatorship of the proletariat.
Well, yeah,
it's still an
I'd say
economy
it's
based upon the social.
I'd say it's a
structure.
truer socialism than what Marx was saying.
I would too. I mean, after all, we are the heretics of Marx, are we not? Soldier socialism.
Essentially, yeah. I mean, and I'd even struggle to really even consider Marx a socialist in the first place, since he never really had any ideals he stood for besides for, wow,
My
matter
favorite quote
change,
from
bro,
Marx.
so cool.
My favorite quote from Marx: "I am not a Marxist."
Yeah, exactly. Like, I struggle to even call him a socialist, because like he just believed, wow, matter moving so cool, like.
Right? I don't know. I've had a few discussions now with left communists, Italian left communists, and it is mind melting.
Yeah, I just
If you have any, the claim is if there is any commodity, right? If there's any commodity, any wage, and any market, it's immediately a capitalist system, and there's nothing else to call it.
Yeah.
That's
And like by Marx's standards, I mean, yeah, if there's like a lot of that shit, it can't really be socialism. But I don't care about what Marx said. Like,
But then Engels immediately contradicts him by saying that there can be commodity and there can be state and social system, and still be called socialism.
I don't think Engels really said that. Like,
Yes, he did in his
Where?
opening preface to his 1895, just before he died. It's like something to the introduction of Working Class Revolution or something like that. He
Okay,
writes
yeah,
exactly.
no, okay, that I can believe in, cause like Engels in his letters to Sombart literally said the labor theory of value is full of shit.
Yeah, it was late Engels just before he
He
died.
said that it no longer happens. That's what he said.
Yeah.
To Stombart.
He's like, in
Stombart
fact,
still
at one
believed
point-
in the
at one
labor
point-
theory of value.
Kind of just stop tapping him, bro. It happened before. It's not now.
At one point, in fact, in the same introductory piece he wrote, he also states that that the revolution will never happen in the way that Marx envisioned. It cannot.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was
And then he also
what
said
work
that the
was
only
that
way
again?
to
I
achieve
remember.
true
That
change
was the
is class
introduction to
collaboration.
Marx's theory of class in England or
Yeah, there it
France.
is. Yeah, that is it. And he's
And
like,
I
the
sent
only
it to
way
you from a section in Stombart.
the only way to achieve true revolution is through class collaboration.
Very true.
He also supported the Social Democrats.
Yes, he did.
And
He
the
had
Social
French
Democrats
Marxists.
were Marxist for a period.
They were initially, but they deviated from Marx. I gotta love Hinman.
No, they were Marxist. What's his fucking name? Viewed himself as a Marxist, but the Social Democrat Party was also incredibly diverse.
It was diverse, and it eventually diverged from the point of Marxism and became social democracy. But my favorite,
The
personally,
only
of
true
the early
Marxist is
Marxists
Nick Land.
is fucking. Have you read Hinman? Have you read Hinman?
No.
He is the embodiment of Marxism outside of Germany. He was the head of the English movement of Marxism, right? He translated Marx's works to English, and then he claimed that they were his own for a little bit. That was a bit funny. Formed his own movement, which included like the granddaughter of Marx, Eleanor Marx, or I'm not sure if granddaughter or daughter, one or the other. And his whole point, there's three core things to his ideology, right? It's nationalism, anti-Semitism, and we hate Germans. he opens a preface in one piece on the working class, and he says, "The Jew runs an internationale of finance called the Golden Internationale, and it must be the goal of every socialist to fight the Jew." In fact, in 1915, he formed something called the National Socialist Party of Great Britain.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah. He wrote one piece in which he said it's every Englishman's duty to attack and expel the foreigner. He ordered his red shirt thugs, is exactly what the news article called them, to attack and kill any minorities they found in the city of London.
Oh my god.
And when he was asked for a quote on the Boer War, he called it a Jewish scheme in order to attack the poor ethnic Boers.
So who was this guy?
Henry Hinman, founder
Okay,
of
yeah,
Marxism.
okay, I found his page.
And then Eleanor Marx called him a totalitarian tyrant, and he said, "You share common features with your grandfather, that being the Jewish nose and the Jewish nose for finance," and exiled her from the party.
Oh my god.
And he got his people elected too. He was the only socialist party to be elected before World War I. He had 3 members of parliament.
Holy shit.
He
Oh
was
my
a raging anti-Semite, a revanchist nationalist, and he absolutely hated Germans. Wrote a book in which he said that everybody must be conscripted to a people's army, not commanded by elected officers, as Marx and Lenin and others had assumed they would be, right? But instead commanded by, quote, learned men who had earned their rank and not bought it.
Oh
He was
my-
also good friends with Alexander Kerensky, I think is his name.
Oh, with
Or one of them.
Kerensky, okay.
Kerensky, yeah. The Mensheviks and whatnot.
True. So we've been going for almost 2 hours. I might call this episode a wrap. Any final thoughts on chapter 6? Anybody? Yeah. Nobody had much to say during the reading, so probably a lot less to say now. Anyway, it was a good discussion though. I had fun tonight. Thanks for coming on, guys, and thanks for watching, everybody. We'll be back next week.
Is there anyone even watching?
There's 3 people watching right now.
Okay.
People do watch the next day, so it's like, it's not just about the live audience.
Yeah.
I like doing
But
live
still.
streams because it's less work. I don't have to put a video together. It's just uploaded when we're done.
Yeah.
It's
So what are we
convenient.
doing next week?
The Surrealist Manifesto by Andre Breton.
All right.
So it'll be
You cut
good.
me off before I got to the fun stuff about Hinman.
Okay.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
All right.
Another day.
Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. We'll be back next week to talk about the Surrealist Manifesto. Salute.
Slosh,